live. All right. We're just going to have to wing this thing. This will be the
We got
first
this.
time on YouTube. Yeah, we got this, right? It's too easy. I wonder if the chat's going to be pulled up too. That'll be interesting.
I have it, like, it still tells me I can say hi in chat right now, so it's very
Okay.
possible.
Interesting. Okay, well, we'll start right now.
Yeah, let's go.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to an all new episode of Purgatory Club. We're going to do things a little bit differently this time, just because the old way of recording kind of was messed up and we didn't get it to work.
It was
But
rough.
we're just gonna work through it. It's gonna be all good. But we've got a really special guest on this episode. We've got my homegirl Jaden. She's one of the best witches we've got in our group, and she's just all around amazing. And we all love Jaden.
So, thank you.
So just to kick it off, how's your day going, Jaden? You doing all right?
I'm good. I mean, we all woke up at noon in my house, so the sleep schedule is completely messed up, but we're good. Yeah, it's been a bad day. Kind of just been chilling, took a shower. The works. Nice
I
chill
feel that.
day. How's yours
Yeah,
been?
mine's been pretty good. Not too bad. I have nothing to complain about. It's been super chill. Just helping out Ruby a little while ago, and I thought it was going to be like a 30-minute thing. It ended up being like almost 3 hours.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Tell me, do you hear this?
You tapping on it? No.
You don't hear that?
Nope.
Hold on 1 second. Because I can hear it in my headphones, but
That's crazy.
no. She said, that's crazy.
One of my go-to responses in general.
Right? I hate technology.
Me too. Out of
But,
all the things in this world, I was not made to be a tech witch.
oh my goodness, imagine.
Props to the tech witches, because could not be me. I am not tech savvy enough for it.
Okay, now can you hear
There
that?
it is. I can.
There it is. Awesome. I was like, why can I hear you through my phone, but it's not coming through my headphones? I was like, what? That's kind of weird. But anyways, it's a live stream, so it'll just be like this will be like the long version, and we'll just edit it down.
Yeah.
To like a YouTube video.
It'll be fun.
It will be super fun. But to get us started on, you want to tell us about your childhood? How was your childhood like?
Let's see. How can I word this? I would consider it rocky. Don't get me wrong. It was not necessarily like the worst of the worst childhoods that one could ever have.
Right.
But I was an incredibly lonely and out of place child. And I was always misunderstood. I was very much so the black sheep everywhere I went. I was the black sheep in the black sheep family. So like
Really?
it was a weird start. I was always weird. Always weird. I was making potions in the woods. I had
As
worm
you should.
potions. Yeah, like I was in wrist deep in nature almost all the time.
Right.
So like the witchy thing started young for me.
Yeah, but I feel like those kind of people make the best kind of people when we're adults.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. At least like 9 times out of 10, I agree.
Yeah. Let's see. When did you realize that you were a witch? Like around what age?
I think I actually like put a name to it. It was almost 6 years ago. It was December of like 2019, I believe. So like almost right into 2020.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, I was always doing like witchy things. It was like a spiritual thing. I was always into the paranormal, always kind of communicating with spirits and all of that stuff. I just didn't actually like consider like put a name to what I was doing until like 2019, December 2020, pretty much.
Yeah, about like COVID time.
Yeah, pretty much. It was literally a month before like COVID had like super struck. So it was crazy. I remember watching the beginning of COVID during this whole time when I was going through my first like well, not my first, probably more like my second or third, but the first one I recognized as a spiritual awakening.
Right.
Uh,
How
so
was
that was a
COVID for
really
you?
it wasn't the worst because I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, so, like,
Mhm.
a lot of things didn't change for me. I really liked masking. I really did. I wish we could bring that back because it was nice. It was really nice to not, like, have to fake a smile at people all the time
Right?
because I had a really, really bad, like, straight face, like, RBF, very bad. So it was really nice to just have my eyes be the only thing in sight, so I only had to worry about from here up. I got
Yeah.
really bad at making faces at people though, and now my face just says what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and you're the kind of person too, it shows all over your face anyways,
It
like, you
really
can't
does.
help it.
It really does.
Yeah, COVID was like an introvert's dream for sure, I
It
think.
really was. It was great. And I mean, my daughter was young then, so we just spent a lot of time in the woods and stuff. We went camping, like, it was a great time period. And I didn't even get COVID during when COVID was, like, a main thing. I got it, like, a year later. Awful
Mhm.
experience, 10 out of 10,
Oh,
don't
wow,
recommend.
so you actually ended up getting it.
Yeah, it sucked.
Fuck.
It
I didn't know
sucked
that.
so bad.
Damn. What's up, Douglas? How you doing, my guy?
Sup, friends?
That's crazy. So how would you describe your practice, though? So you started, like, you really put a name to it around 2019. I'm just trying to put a timeline together.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you've been doing it all your life pretty much, but you put a name to it
yeah,
right before
yeah, pretty
COVID.
much. And once I really started, like, realizing what I was inherently doing, I was like, "Oh, okay." And I started researching and, like, watching and listening to more and more things, and I was like, "Okay, I like this," and I kind of just started pulling. I would describe my practice as very eclectic. I do tend to like to stick to the cultures that, like, I'm from because I did, like, the Ancestry DNA thing, so I like to stick to very, like, Anglo-Saxon, Nordic, like, Celtic kind of, um, culture and mythology and just the vibe from
Mhm.
that. I don't like to overstep, I'm very strict with, like, close practices and everything, but I take a little bit of everything and I practice a little bit of everything, but I focus on, like, banishing and protection. Specifically,
Okay.
protection is, like, my main that's my thing. People
That's a
come
good
to me when
specialty to
they
have,
need
though,
help to, like,
because
get rid of stuff.
yeah, for sure. Because I've noticed too, like, a lot of witches, they'll have, like, a specialty, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I would say protection is my number 1, banishing's probably my number 2, and then
Mhm.
I dabble in a little bit of everything else.
No, that makes sense. That's cool. Do you get into, like, the tarot cards and the astrology and
Yep.
the universe and things
Um,
like that?
Astrology was one of the first things I actually started, like, reading into when I first started my practice. Excuse me. I how do I word this? When I first started, I knew I needed to really dig inwards because there was a lot of things I needed to let go of.
Mhm.
So that was kind of my first step was reading my astrology chart, like, in depth, word for word, studying it, and help using that to help me figure out what was going on inside, because
Yeah.
I'm not good at really feeling or understanding that, processing emotions. I really didn't even learn how to properly feel emotions until, like, a couple of years ago.
I think you're
So,
like me in that kinda way. I gotta kinda compartmentalize things. I gotta, like, take it back to
yeah.
the root so I can get to where I wanna go.
Yep, and
Yeah.
I use a lot of music for that too, like, music is probably one, of the main things that I use in my practice.
Mhm.
So,
How do you use
it
music in your practice?
I use it a lot in multiple ways. So, I use it as a way to do shadow work.
Mhm.
So, there are some songs that I really connect to, and I might take it out of context of, like, its original meaning,
Right.
and I can usually fit it make it fit into another type of situation. that I am experiencing or have experienced, and I kind of put myself back in the place and I sit with the feelings that I get. I let them come, I scream it out, I cry, I usually sing scream. Um, Sometimes I imagine like I'm singing towards the person that like the song, like the whole thing is about, like the
Yeah.
person who inflicted it. I find it very therapeutic to just like scream sing at nothing.
And isn't that
It's
crazy how songs
imagination
can bring out those
basically.
emotions in you too? Like I link certain songs with like certain time periods. Like the
Oh yeah.
2000s had their own song, like the
Mhm.
2005 had its own song for sure.
Yep. I can like match any song that like I really attach to from any time period to a certain situation that I was going through.
Yeah.
A lot of my memories are attached to music in general. Um, I use music as a way to help like strengthen my voice. It helps me build courage, which is a very strange thing to say, but like it really does because
Yeah.
it takes a lot of courage to sit there with your windows open and belt out songs when all of your
Yeah.
neighbors are outside doing yard work. It does. Like
Your neighbors are blessed.
it's fine. We don't have to like them. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh
But
my
yeah, no,
god.
yeah, I use it a lot. I really do. And now I made my own Oracle deck full of song lyrics from a bunch of different songs that I have found that this deck really likes to dig at people.
Mhm.
Like, it will read you to fill and it won't hold back. And it
Yeah.
won't just read what's on like the outside of a situation. It like digs into it.
And that's
So
interesting because it's like you said it's an oracle deck too?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because
It's
I know
it's
tarot decks, they go right for your neck. So you have
oh,
a
they really do.
oracle deck that'll do the same thing. Hell yeah. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that.
I just did a reading for a friend where I explained some stuff to him, and he was like, "Can you, like, explain that a little bit more because it doesn't quite fit?" And I told him, I was like, "Listen, I'm just telling you what the cards say. The cards don't read everything on the surface. If you're not understanding, maybe really dig deep inside of your soul and, like, just deep within you 'cause you might find the answers there, and literally 20 minutes later, like, "You were right."
Yeah. Because there's
So,
always multiple ways of like looking at a situation too,
yeah,
especially like when pulling
and
cards and things like that. Hell yeah.
we're very biased individuals. We don't wanna admit something about ourselves that might be a little bit negative.
Right.
So, like,
Right.
we have to get past those biases too.
Yeah, because we're creatures of habit and we want to hear the
Oh,
good things about ourselves. We never really want to hear like the nasty things or the bad things, right? But that's
exactly.
exactly what Oracle and Tarot's for. It's to point out those things so that we can recognize it in ourselves to be a
Mhm.
better person.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I really like Oracle and stuff, kind of just, like, figuring out the vibe of the day. Tarot,
Hmm.
I'm still figuring out. I've never connected as much with tarot as I do oracle decks. I'm
Really?
very much so an oracle deck girly. I love them. I want so many of them.
Hmm. So
I
you gravitate towards Oracle. That's interesting.
Yeah, I really do. For some reason, like, I understand tarot, and I'm learning it more and more, but I just don't it doesn't click the same way that, like, oracle decks do.
Right.
But,
Right.
everybody's different. It's
Yeah.
my thing, I guess.
Yeah. That's
Really
cool. I
fun
haven't
to
gotten into either one of them, so that's cool that you know
yeah.
both of them like that. So that's neat. I'll definitely have to get my reading done by you one of these days.
Now we read you to filth. Uh,
What kind of things do you use to protect yourself when you're doing your practice?
I kinda go with the flow. My
Mhm.
main go-tos are sigils, protection oils, rosemary is my favorite protection, like, ally herb.
Yeah.
Ragweed, I will use a ton, cloves, I use a ton, and eggshells. I use eggshells so much. Um, it's a much better alternative to salt because salt
Mhm.
is actually really bad for, like, the earth, and I tend to dump all of, like, my spell remnants outside and everything, like, along my property lines as, like, an extra barrier.
Yeah.
So, I
And that's
do like
interesting. You told us that the other day, and I was like, I
yeah,
would have never thought about that, but that's such a good tip just to
yep.
have that extra layer of protection for sure.
Yeah, when I do simmer pots and stuff, I tend to dump the remnants of that along the front of my property line as well. I put up property wards, I put up house wards, there's wards on my altar, there's wards in my bedroom, there's wards on almost every single window in my house. I'm very well warded. I really believe
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
because
All the protection.
protecting oh yeah, protecting my peace was the first thing I focused on because every single house I've lived in, haunted. Every single one of them. It was torture growing up
Really?
because, like, some of the, like, instances were not very friendly, and it was very traumatizing as
Yeah.
a, like, 8-year-old to get the image sort of, like, legs swinging in a closet. Like, I still
Yeah.
don't like closets to this day because of that crap.
Yeah, that's crazy. What was the craziest experience you had in a haunting house, like, growing up?
Either the red eyes that both me and my sister witnessed on the 2nd story, we were in her bedroom, and there was a thunderstorm outside, and when lightning flashed, we saw 2, like, it was just red eyes staring into the window. We were on the 2nd story, like, there was no way anything could have really gotten up there.
Yeah.
Or it was, that point in time when I lived in another house
Mhm.
that I would every time I closed my eyes, I would get that, like, color sequence that, like, on the old TVs when you would lose signal and just be, like, a rainbow of, like, static colors.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, and then it would go black, and I would open my eyes, and there would just be, like, this really dark shadow over me every single night for, like, 3 or 4 years.
Wow, 3 or 4 years, fuck.
It was rough. It was really rough. That was a crappy house. That was not a great house. Even the house that, like, I graduated high school in when there was literal scratch marks on the wall and, like, baby footprints going up the wall and everything, that house was still not as bad as the other house.
Well,
That the other house was not it.
and now adult you, what do you looking back on it, what do you think it was?
I'm not sure, honestly, because it didn't do anything to me.
Mhm.
It just stood there every night. I have no idea if it was protecting me, I have no idea if it was just watching me. It's a very weird scenario, and I think about that house quite often because that house still gives the worst vibes. I recently drove by it when we got my cat spayed, and it's still the worst vibes. It's
It's still
not
close
it.
to you?
It's a couple hours away, but we had to drive
Fuck.
about 2 hours to go get her spayed anyways because it was the
Mhm.
cheapest place around.
Yeah.
So,
Damn,
yeah.
2 hours away?
Yeah.
Where'd you go, New York City?
No, that's 6 hours away.
Oh my god. Damn, New York is big.
Yeah, it is. It's very big. I can
Damn.
drive to Pennsylvania faster than I can get to New York City.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
I can also go to Canada faster.
How
I
far is
am
Canada? Like an hour?
Yeah, pretty much because there's one crossing in Alex Bay, and then there's the other spot 2 hours away where, I was on the river, and you across the river is quite literally Canada.
Mhm. I saw a
So,
video about that, a guy like jet skiing from
yeah.
yeah, the guy like yeah, I'm like, "That's crazy, I didn't realize you could just go." I thought there was, like, something there.
No, honestly, there's genuinely like, I've never seen, like, Coast Guard or anything. My go-to
Really?
plan in, like, an apocalypse is to steal a boat and cross into Canada first. Like, that's my
That's where you're
go-to.
going? Oh my
100%.
god.
That's where I'm starting at least.
Mhm.
We'll
Yeah, and
figure it
then
out.
yeah, just keep going up. Just go to Canada. They're all nice up there, they're chilling. Oh my god.
I don't
Let
know.
me
Had a lot
let
of
me ask.
experiences with French Canadians and, like, all respect, but everyone I've encountered was so mean. So
Really?
mean. Oh my god, it's the
The
French Canadians.
Canadians, wow. pulling a wool over our eyes like that, man.
Yeah, they really do. And the Canadian, like, border patrol was really mean. They were really mean
Yeah,
to
really.
they were. And I mean, to be fair, we accidentally crossed the border, but we didn't mean to.
Was it like a big border or was it like one of those off to the side ones?
Um, so it was in Maine, and we were coming back, but we were trying to take the back roads, but our GPS kept switching our route for some reason. So it ended up putting us on the route where we would drive into Canada to come back around to where we live, because that technically is the fastest trip.
Yeah, but
But
that's crazy.
I don't have my license or anything, like, I can't go to Canada.
The real ID? Oh, no.
I ain't got nothing.
She said, "I don't got
Crazy
nothing."
stuff.
Oh my god.
The American Border Patrol found it so funny, though.
Mhm. Yeah, I would've
They
been
were
dying.
cracking up.
Oh my god.
Oh, funny. Fun times.
That's crazy. Let me ask, what's a misconception about witchcraft that you wish people would stop believing?
That it's freaking evil. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. There is good and evil in everything. Like,
Mhm. It's a
quite
balance.
literally. There's good, there's evil, and there's neutral. Personally,
Mhm.
I like to stay in the middle, it's a nice little balance of both. But
Yeah.
both exist in the world, and there are people that do really good things that, like, to the public, that are super awful individuals. So, like, it's not any more evil than quite literally any other religious belief or practice or anything, because witchcraft isn't technically like a religion. I kind of practice it like one, but it's not a religion.
But it's
But
similar if like
it kind of
like
is.
I came from Catholics, but it's super similar. Like if you walk into a Catholic mass, like you're gonna be like they're in there doing some
Oh,
crazy shit because it just
so
looks
I
crazy
actually
from the outside.
have some information about this. One of my favorite, they're a TikToker. I think they're called like Frankie. It's Chaotic Witch Ant for anybody
Hmm.
curious, but they are a like Italian folk witch.
Yeah,
Uh, so they focus a lot on like Italian magic and everything, and a lot of that is like Catholicism and like the saints and everything. And a lot of Catholicism is the way that it is because when people were being forced to convert and everything, they were taking bits and pieces of their previous practices and incorporating it into the new practices so that they could
that's
keep the
literally
whole
to me what
the new.
witchcraft is: just taking the
Yeah,
best pieces of every religion and making it into your own little personalized religion.
yeah, respectfully, as
Yeah.
But yeah, so I kind of just find it cool. Like Catholicism, they can say what they want, but like it's not
Hmm.
technically witchcraft, but it's a pretty
It's
it's
pretty
pretty
fucking close.
witchy.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
pretty witchy.
Like you ever see Ash Wednesday when they're putting the ash over on the forehead and shit? Like there's so many examples like that.
Funny story about Ash Wednesday. I did not grow up religious. I grew up
Hmm.
in a pretty religious area, so I don't know how I missed this my entire life. But it wasn't until I was probably 18 or 19 that I witnessed my first Ash Wednesday. And
Hmm.
I was at work, and a whole bunch of people just came in with crosses on their head in
Yeah.
ash. And I was
Hmm.
so scared. I was like, what is happening? Did a cult just walk in? And my boss was like, it's Ash Wednesday. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Um, so yeah. RIP me. I did not know.
You weren't ready.
I'm not ready.
Oh my god. And there's so many examples just like that too. It's to the outsiders looking in, it's crazy. Like that's where I grew up Catholic, so
Yeah, my
it
mom
is
did too.
crazy.
So
It is
yeah,
crazy.
so it's a wild time.
Yeah. But witchcraft is funner, I think. It's
I
you
do.
have
I love witchcraft. It has been my peace. It's been my calm. It's been my hell. It has been the rocky road along the way. It's quite literally been like it engulfs everything that I do. Like
mhm.
I see almost everything as like magical.
Yeah.
I incorporate magic into just about everything that I do. I am really about mundane magic. I love simplicity. I really like just seeing the magic in simple things.
Yeah,
So,
it's in everything. And when you
yeah,
open your eyes to that, life gets kind of crazy.
it does, and it was kind of hard at first, it was very overwhelming, but now I find myself grounding in it. So, like, I when I get crazy and life is just a little too rough, I feel more grounded when I go outside and I think about the wind and how it's basically caressing my cheeks and the ground is like hugging my feet and everything. It's
Yeah,
very calming.
it is calming. And then, like you said, it's a balance. And that's what I like what you said earlier about the misconception that it's all evil because most people will see a pentagram and think, oh, evil. Like, but it literally represents like balance, like earth, wind, air, fire, and then spirit is on top.
And the
And then it's,
pentacle is used for protection. And in
yeah,
fact, the pentacle and like pentagram has been used in Christian spaces too to represent stuff. Like,
absolutely. And it just represents balance and connecting spirit to the physical world and understanding that it's all like linked together. That's,
all surely. Like, it all touches.
yeah, it's crazy. And it's just like, I think people are scared of what they don't understand, right?
For sure,
Yeah.
because it can be
People,
scary.
yeah, people see a movie and think, oh, it's just, they think it's like it's the movies, right? I'm like, no, it's not the movies.
Yeah,
It's real
truly,
life.
really not. And don't get me wrong, I love the movies, like, I love the Conjuring movies, but please, for the love of everything, don't look to that like it is for real. I
Yeah.
saw that last movie with the tarot cards and everything, and I read it, it was not what they said it meant, it was not what it meant at all. Like, people use the death card to represent death all the time, and I'm like, "That's not what it means.
Yeah.
Not what it means, y'all, come on."
I've just recently started my studies in like death witchcraft and it's
Yeah.
not what people would think it is. It's not like
No.
craziness. It's helping spirit move on and then
Mhm.
comforting the ones that can't. So it's
Yeah,
like it's not a bad thing. It's literally the opposite. It's like helping
yeah.
spirit and making friends with the ones that are stuck in purgatory.
Yeah, I've dabbled with death magic a little bit. There was one
I've just
year in
started.
particular where there were so many dead animals around me, like, I was constantly finding them, and every single time I found one, I just felt this, like, gut feeling like, "I need to bury this," and, like, "I need to honor this creature." So,
Hmm.
like, there was one year I buried, like, 3 birds and stuff, and I did little rituals for them all, and then I got, like, a rabbit pelt for my altar, and I did a ritual for that animal spirit, and then I got deer bones for throwing, bones and stuff, and I did a ritual for that one. Um, so I don't
But do you see how
tend.
respectful all of that is
Yeah,
to
no,
like the animal and to
100%.
like giving it back to the earth and like the
Yeah,
cycle of everything? It's like the most respectful way you could go about things. Like, how is
and
that
while
construed as evil?
no, and while I've never, like, helped a spirit, like, cross over per se, I have helped spirits, like, break away from attachment so that they could move on to, like, the next part of their journey in the
That's still
afterlife.
helping spirit though,
Yeah,
that's still death witchcraft and,
yeah,
it's all a part of it.
but and I dabble a little bit of everywhere, I think, truly.
Yeah, my practice is based around like chaos magic, but I've just recently started getting into that branch of it just because I'm
Yeah,
like, it usually takes like a medium to be able to do it just because you have to use yourself as the divination tool to let spirit work through you instead of like using like a pendulum or something. And I'm
I
like,
actually used a Ouija board.
yeah, yeah, that's a good way to use it too.
I used the Ouija board. I've only used my Ouija board a couple of times, and every single time it has been like a life altering, like practice changing kind of
Really?
experience.
Has anything crazy came up in there or no?
No, nothing crazy. Well, not super crazy. The last time, God, I wish I could remember the spirit's name, but I'm so bad with names. But it was a nickname.
Same.
But it was a spirit who was she was really stuck with this man who, like, it was not a good relationship, and he was kind of, like, dog leashing her, kind of, like,
Yeah.
dragging her around everywhere, um, and I was using the Ouija board, and it came out of nowhere, and I was working with the Morrigan, like, heavily at the time, and I had to break away the attachment um, between them so that he could move forward, and that was a very angry spirit I had on my hands there for a second.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
We
He
didn't get
was,
into that yet. What deities do you work with?
let's see, Loki is my patron, so that
Okay.
basically means, like, he is there all the time, like, he might take a step back, but he is kind of like the leader. He is
Yeah.
the one who has claimed me.
Mhm.
Um, I do work with the Morrigan. She has taken a little bit of a step back, but she hasn't left fully.
Mhm.
Um, and though not technically a god, I work with a Jotun named Kari, and he is like the North Wind, basically. And I
Yeah.
do a lot of my music work and a lot of my vocal work in general with him.
Mhm.
Um, and he's I really love Curry. I think he's really fun because he goes through these changes throughout the whole year. So
Mhm.
from springtime, he's a very much so like a frat boy.
Yeah.
Very much very playful with the wind, very funny, silly, goofy, but he ages throughout the year. So when he
Really?
gets to winter time, he's basically like an old wise man, like
Mm.
a hermit kind of figure, like that really just like sage.
Yeah. Just like
Um,
wise, right?
yeah, so
Yeah.
my work with him really changes throughout the entire year because sometimes we focus a little bit more on being fun and silly, and then sometimes we're like, "No, we gotta do that inner work now."
Yeah. No, that makes
That's
sense. I'm always so
and then
fascinated with who people work with because I don't know if I told you, but I don't have any deities. I'm
yeah,
like solo out here. So it's fascinating.
yeah. So, I mean, some people don't feel attached to any deities.
Yeah.
Um, I'm almost willing to bet that there's at least a handful of them that would be more than happy to do work with you,
Of
but that's
course.
all up to, like, your discretion, like, you don't
Yeah.
have to work with demons to be a witch, you what you need to be a witch is to do the work, to do your
Yeah.
work,
Mhm.
so whatever that looks like for you. For me,
And
it
to put
looks
it
like
into
an immense
practice.
altar and a lot of spells, and, yeah, putting it into practice, um, writing can be spell work, I did spell work when I did my makeup. So,
But that's you incorporating it into like your day, and that's
yeah,
like the best kind of witchcraft, honestly.
yeah, I adore mundane magic. I think it is a thing that everybody should do. I really adore mundane magic, and I will advocate for mundane magic till the day I
Mhm.
die.
Of
I
course.
love it.
No, that's cool. Let's see. Do you think you have clairvoyancy?
I'm a little suspicious. I got some kind of Claire going on. There's Claire something happening.
Which type do you think you lean more to?
It's either clairvoyant or claircognizance because I kinda just be knowing stuff sometimes that I
Yeah.
technically shouldn't be knowing,
Mhm.
but I also have feelings and what I call memories of images, that lead me to believe that I'm a bit clairvoyant as well because I shouldn't be able to feel and, like, do some of the things that I'm able to do, especially with the aphantasia and everything, like, working
Right.
around that has been an entirely different hill to jump over.
Mhm. And how do you say that again? Aphantasia.
Yeah,
And your
yeah,
Instagram is the Aphantasia Witch.
yeah. I'm pretty
Okay,
sure
I
it's
got it this time.
aphantasia witch or the aphantasia witch.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah,
Because
I think everybody's got a little bit of kind of clairvoyancy. Like it wouldn't make sense for just certain people to have it, I don't think.
no, I believe everybody can learn any clair skill.
Because we've all got a consciousness. I think that's where it comes from.
Um, but yeah, I believe everybody has the ability to learn a clair skill. It
Mhm.
just takes a ton of work. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. Even just figuring out that I can do these things, like actually practicing it and everything, it is both scary, rewarding, and a lot of work.
It is, and it's crazy when you see yourself doing it. It's like
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's like, damn.
It's kinda scary because what do you mean? What do you mean that's me doing that?
Yeah.
Ugh,
Oh
I
my
about
god.
lost my mind when I watched that Ghost Club video, and I described an entire image to myself that they later got a picture of on their Seer app.
Mhm.
So, I was so scared, I paused the whole video and I was like, "Babe,
And you'll
look at my"
notice that that'll happen a lot during, like, live investigations or, like, live streams and stuff, like,
Yeah,
so many people putting their energy into one thing, you'll see them being able to, like, influence, like, what happens throughout the video, just it's crazy.
yeah, and I connect really well to energies of places and things more than I connect to the energies of people per se. Like I
Mhm.
can connect to the energies of people. I think it just takes me a little bit more like effort to do so. Whereas I feel the energy of places so heavily that even when I'm watching videos on YouTube and stuff, I'm like, "Oh, like, there's something in that back corner over there," and then not even 5 minutes later, something happens in the same corner, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Lay it down."
It's like, how would you know that? That's where that claircognizant comes
Literally,
from. Yeah.
literally. Like,
And
there's
that's
no
just
way
it
for me.
proving itself to you over and over again,
Yeah, yeah,
and I
and I
love that.
still have a hard time being like, "Am I sure?" And
Right.
then and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, there's that self-doubt again."
The evidence will be, like, right there too, right there in your face, and it'll still be like
So hard to see when it's you, when it's other people, I'm like, "Dude, look at it, it's right there." When it's me, I'm like, "Are you sure?"
and like you said, it is so easy to tell when it's other people too, but it's like
Right.
when it's yourself, it's like imposter syndrome. It's just like, "There's no way I
Yeah,
did that."
exactly, 100%.
That's too cool. You spoke a little bit about the Ouija board. What other tools do you use for spirit communication?
Let's see. I use music, the Ouija board, oracle decks, and honestly, just myself. Sometimes some of the messages that I get are quite literally thoughts in my head that are my voice, but
Mhm.
isn't something that I would typically think.
Right.
So, um, so sometimes I get messages like that. Sometimes when I get really connected to like Loki or something, and something happens, it's like I can literally hear him in my head, but through my own voice.
Mhm.
So that's always a strange experience to have to like deal with. But it's always, I swear, Loki and my husband's guy, Larry, are the best of friends and they are constantly bickering with each other. And the banter between them,
Crazy.
crazy. It's so crazy. Sometimes
That's
they
cool.
drop in drunk. I don't know if you knew that the spirits can in fact get drunk. Uh,
Yeah.
and they party all the freaking time over there.
Mhm.
So
This one,
sometimes they'll just
she loves
drop in.
alcohol.
They love it. They adore
Yeah.
it. They'll just drop in, both of them together, just completely wasted. And
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has had to experience a drunk deity before, but
I've dealt with drunk spirits, not a deity before though. That's crazy. I couldn't imagine because deities they got so much more energy than spirit. My God.
Loki, he's really respectful about it, but Loki just gets really silly. Like,
Mhm.
he just gets silly. And
Loki's the one with
I
the
don't.
spiders, no?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Very connected to spiders, which is funny because he doesn't actually have, like, any connection to spiders, like, in mythology and stuff. So,
Yeah.
I don't know where that association came from, but he really took to it. He
Mhm.
really took to it. I don't know why. I think it's because spiders are seen as, like, outcasts, nobody likes them kinda thing, and
Yeah.
whenever there is, the w Loki is pretty much he sees somebody who's been, like, shoved to the side, and he's like, "Yoink,
Mhm.
you're mine now." He's, like,
Yeah.
collecting traumatized children, like Pokemon.
That's a really good way of putting it, collecting traumatized children. That's crazy.
And, like, we have no evidence of him being worshipped or anything, like, in the past, so this could be an entirely new experience for him to,
It
like,
it
be
probably
worshipped.
is. Yeah,
'Cause
because
I
before it was looked down upon, like, people were crazy for worshiping any other god other than Source.
So, it's kind of really hard to know when it comes to Norse mythology because the Norse mythology that we have, it was written down by a Christian, like, a couple hundred years after the
Exactly.
Viking, like, empire basically, like, ended, and the Vikings didn't really write things down.
Yeah.
So, like, these are stories that were told over time by ear that a Christian man wrote down through a more Christian lens, which makes Loki kind of like the devil of Norse mythology.
Mhm.
He is the world ender, he's like the end all, kind of. He brings Ragnarok. And
Yeah.
while some people may view Ragnarok as the end of the world and like devastation, I've always viewed it as a necessary step. In
Yeah.
order to build something better, you have to tear down the old first.
Yeah, before things get
So
clean, they gotta get dirty.
exactly. So that's
Absolutely.
how I kind of view it. But it is very tricky when you look at it through like that kind of lens and everything because we don't know. We have
Yeah.
no idea what the Norse people actually like thought of Loki or any of the gods really. We just have stories that were passed down.
Yeah.
So
That's so interesting too. What's your thought on paranormal investigations, especially, like, nowadays? Like, before I ask you that, what do you think about Matt Rife and
uh,
them buying that house? Because that's kinda, like, in the news right now.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm controversial here.
It's okay.
I am not a big fan of Matt Rife
Yeah.
or like Elton or Overnight in general.
Mhm.
Um, they give me not great vibes.
I get
I
TikTok
know Matt
vibes.
Rife has been under like controversy for a few things,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I just don't get great vibes.
Yeah.
But I hope that they do the best with the museum. I think the artifacts deserve more respect and to be treated as maybe not everything is a demon because I don't believe half of what is in there are demons.
That's what I can't stand. That's another
And
misconception that I wanna, like, in our lifetimes to change, that anything that you don't understand, they do the Zach Baggins route. They call everything a demon and they make a mockery of it. And
so
that's not bringing us progress, that's taking us back.
no, and we have to understand that the word demon stems from the word daemon, which
Yeah.
a long, long time ago, daemon is just the like it meant a deity. Like it's pretty much an exact like definition for deity.
Yeah.
So demons are just different deities, and every
Mhm.
deity has its own thing. Like demons
And they're
might
powerful.
little bit darker or something. They might reach into like your shadow side and everything. Whereas like Yahweh or something might reach into your light side, or Jesus might reach into your light side. Like,
It's the
and both,
balance.
that doesn't mean that one is better than the other because we have to understand that like angels are looked at like all heavenly great beings. They're terrifying.
They are.
Very scary. That I angels are something I'm not even ready to mess with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because but
Not
it's crazy,
really.
right? People like us would
Very
mess with a daemon before an angel, and that's crazy because they are fucking terrifying.
yeah. No, I've heard the stories, and I
Oh my
hear
god.
fuck, Saint Michael, I think that's his name. He's a very, to the point, very, like, kind of guy,
Mhm.
and it's scary. I
I've
need leniency.
I've never heard of a demon having to tell somebody, "Alright, prepare yourself because I look so fucking
No,
scary that my
for
appearance alone
real.
is gonna scare the shit out of you, and
No,
you're gonna be traumatized on that alone." I've never but angels, that's exactly how they are.
For real. If I had an entity be like, "Be not afraid," literally the first thing I'm feeling is fear because
That's
what
a
do you mean?
and that alone, it just tell you what everything that you need to know about it. But it's like you said, it's balance. And just
Yeah,
because they reside in the underworld doesn't make them inherently evil.
they are necessary.
They are
We
necessary.
understand that dark and light coexist in the same world. Mother Nature can be as loving as she is brutal. Like, the world is both joyful and awful. It is love and it is the worst of the worst and the best of the best. They both exist at the same time.
But you need both. One doesn't
Exactly.
exist without the other. And it doesn't make sense for people to have this ignorant mindset of like, oh, everything is just sunshines and rainbows and there is no bad. And it's
I call
crazy to
that
me.
toxic positivity,
Yeah,
and I think it is a really big problem in the, like, new age spiritual community. Um,
absolutely.
it's it stresses me out.
It stresses me out too. I see it a lot even in the paranormal community.
Yeah.
I hate using the term influencer, but you'll see that a lot. Like other influencers, they'll be spreading what that word that you just said, the toxic positivity or
Yeah,
whatever. They'll just be kind of putting a spotlight on everything that's good, but completely ignoring and demonizing everything that's opposite of that. Whether that
but
be a demon, whether that be spirit, because they don't understand it. I've been seeing that a
but
lot lately.
people have to understand that you're always going to have a shadow when you're in the light. That shadow is
Exactly.
never going to leave you. Like, your ego is never going to leave. Those things that people wanna rip out and destroy, they are a part of us. They are a part of the human experience, and we can't get rid of these things. We have to learn how to work with them, how to accept them, and use them to push us forward. Your shadow can overtake you, it can make you one of the worst people alive, but it
Hmm.
can also protect you in, like, it can help you in situations that you in the past might have run away from, and
But that's where you see growth, in my opinion, is when you're able to look at your shadow and acknowledgement to me is always the first step, being able to acknowledge, like, yeah, that was
yeah,
fucked up. Like,
and,
maybe
like,
I should change
accepting
that
it.
to be a better person for tomorrow.
Yeah, and, like, you have to accept that you did some things happened to you, you can't change it. It it
All you got to
friggin'
do is move
sucks.
forward.
Yeah, it friggin' sucks, but you have to learn from it and you have to take the next step. You can't
Absolutely.
stay in one spot your entire life. To be stationary is to not really live, it's not an experience, you're just immobile.
Hmm.
You're just
Speaking of
cruising
the
through
shadow,
life.
yeah, speaking of the shadow, what's your relationship with your shadow? Like, is that
My
a big part of your
shadow,
craft, is doing shadow work
um,
and things like that?
it was a huge part of my craft, specifically because when I got pregnant and, like, I started, like, because when I got pregnant was really when I started my shadow work, that I
Yeah,
didn't really know that I was doing shadow work until a couple years later when I actually realized what witchcraft was.
yeah,
But once I got pregnant, I was like, like, I have things about myself I need to figure out, and I need to figure these out fast so that I don't put these things on my child in the future.
yeah.
So, me and my shadow got acquainted real fast, and it was real uncomfortable, and I kinda
Hmm.
speed ran it because, well, my child is 6 now, and she's not super duper traumatized. I have messed up here and there,
Of
but
course.
she's good. She's doing good. She's a great kid, and I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I would say so.
But my shadow is a part of everything that I do. It is always in the back of my mind. I genuinely work with my shadow a lot more than I do anything else
Hmm.
because, how do I word this? I am mentally ill. I feel like my shadow is very large. Like, it takes up a big, good portion of me.
Yeah.
There was a long time where I think I let my shadow kind of overtake everything in my life,
Mhm.
and it kind of made things go haywire for a little bit. I was not necessarily a great person. But I understand that I was really acting out of a way to protect myself because that's what my shadow is there to do, is to protect me at all costs no matter what, even
Right.
if in the long run that might be detrimental because my shadow doesn't understand that in time. So, it was a whole lot of, like, figuring out how to work with my shadow and not let it take over every single thing that I do and did and like and all that wonderful stuff on top of the depression and the ADHD and the possible autism and every other thing that I have discovered over the past 7 years.
I think it's like what you make of it, right? But
Yeah,
I think everybody that starts shadow work, like I'm pretty sure even with you, you can trace back exactly when you started working on shadow work because it is such a life changing thing. It makes you check yourself and
for
look
sure.
yourself in the mirror and work with it. And I think it's what you make of it. You can have it be this horrible thing that's over you, that's weighing you down, or you can use it to bring you up.
Yeah, yeah. It was and that was something I had to figure out on my own. Because when I first started shadow work or anything, I didn't have a name for it. I was not on witch talk. I didn't even really realize that witchcraft was necessarily a thing. Like, I knew about Wicca and stuff, but, like, I had never felt drawn to Wicca itself, and I understand the reasons now, but
Mhm.
back then, it was very much so. I felt like I was lost in the woods.
Yeah.
I was afloat at sea, just kind of waiting for the world to kinda just take me.
Oh, that
And
makes sense.
it it was really hard to come out of that. And it still is hard to
Mhm.
stay out of it because that shadow is always there,
It's
and
always
I'm
there.
always working on stuff. You're always like it never stops. The shadow work never ends. Whenever I think, "Okay, I might be good for a little bit now," something else
Yeah.
always pops up. There's never a break. The
Yeah.
universe always got something for you. You always can learn something out of every situation. There is a lesson.
And even when things are going good, your shadow will be there to check your ass and be like,
Yep, be
"Eh,"
like, "Are you sure
you know
about
what I
that?"
mean? Yeah, right?
Mhm.
Every time, even when things are going fucking great, it'll be right there to
Yep,
remind you.
always. And it's okay. Like, we get through it. Me and my shadow are kind of like this at this point.
That's
I
good.
understand it. It understands me, and we try to work together. My
That's good, I
anxiety
love
lives
that.
a lot in my shadow, but we're surviving.
Let me ask, do you think witchcraft has healed parts of you that were broken?
100%.
Yeah?
Um, I will never forget the day that I realized that I was kind of dumb. The day that I realized that I wanted to head down this, like, witchcraft path with, like, deities and everything was when I was on TikTok. I had this was, like, right when I first joined TikTok, and I saw
Mhm.
somebody mention worshiping the old gods, and they were,
Yeah.
like, worshiping Poseidon, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I can do that?"
Yeah.
'Cause my whole life I had been told that nobody worships these, like, old gods anymore. So,
Right.
to my very one-track mind, that's just how it was. I didn't really think outside of that, which is ridiculous looking back, but that's just how it was. But I'll never forget the feeling that I got when I watched that video and I was like, "Oh my god, I can do that."
Right.
And something clicked. Something clicked. And
Like,
it
the
wasn't
possibilities are endless now.
Yeah, and it wasn't until almost a year later that I actually accepted Loki. He really presented for, like, a whole year. he was really trying to get my attention.
Mhm.
And I was trying so hard for it not to be Loki. I was like, "No, it's gonna be like Lucifer or something." No.
Yeah.
No. After getting attacked, not necessarily, like, attacked, but it felt like I was being attacked, but by so many spiders. There was probably at least, like, 50 spiders at my house that summer, and, like,
Fuck.
my house gets spiders, don't get me wrong, but not that much. Not that much. I was finding multiple every single day, and they weren't even like stellar spiders or anything, like the little guys that hang out in the corners of your bedroom. No, they were not them.
Yeah.
They were little fast guys. They were in my
Mm.
sink and stuff. Like to this day, when Loki needs to like give me a message and like tell me something's about to go down, so many spiders.
Oh my
So
god.
many spiders. It's awful. This happened to me quite literally like a month or 2 ago. I was constantly getting spiders, it was so bad, and I remember I have it on video where I'm trying to get one spider out of the sink and another spider comes crawling at me, and I'm like, "Why is there multiple of you?" And then I stopped for a second, I was like, "What is the message? What's
Yeah.
going on?"
And then when they have babies, it's always like 1,000 fucking babies that they have. Oh my
Oh,
god. It's
babies
the
scare me.
worst.
I don't need
Yeah.
that in my life. We just had a wolf spider in our house, it was so big, this thing was, like, this freaking
Oh,
big with its legs, and it was pregnant,
yeah.
and we vacated that thing because no,
Yeah.
because my fear of spiders stems from them crawling on me. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily the spider itself, it's it touching me. It is the idea of it touching me.
It's like the heebie-jeebie thing of it, right?
Literally, super no, no, no. Not doing that.
Yeah, fuck that. I can't do spiders or snakes.
Oh, I'm not a big fan of snakes either, and Loki likes to send me one every single year.
Really?
Just runs right by me, I scream, he gets a good laugh, everybody's happy.
Oh my god, yeah, I can't. I'm glad I live in the desert because fuck that. Fuck that.
I fear when my grass gets too long outside and I'm like, "Ooh, there's gonna be snakes."
Yeah, I can't.
It's
Let me
scary.
ask, do you ever feel like you get lonely on your journey? Like, on your spiritual journey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of the time, I feel fairly lonely on my journey, especially with the aphantasia and everything. When I learned what aphantasia was, it, like, halted my practice for a little bit.
For those
Before
that
I
don't know, do you
knew
wanna explain that to us real quick? Because
Yeah,
I don't really even know what that means.
yeah. So, basically, aphantasia is the inability or it's kind of like a spectrum of how you can visualize in your head. So, for me, I don't see anything in my head. Like, I cannot picture anything. If you tell me to picture an apple, I could describe an apple to you, but I don't see it up here.
Mhm.
Uh, but some people can see like little bits and pieces, like it's really faded and stuff, but I get seriously nothing. So growing up, I thought that was normal. I really did.
Yeah.
I thought when people said like picture this, imagine this in your head, like I thought it was a metaphor. I thought we were just pretending. Like that
Mhm.
was what we were supposed to do. And then I found out that people could actually see things in their head and they were creating movies for books and like the guided meditations that I was struggling so hard with. They were quite literally walking through meadows in their head
Yeah.
and it broke me for,
You
like,
thought it was a
almost a
metaphor?
year. I really did, I thought it was a metaphor.
Oh my god, jaded.
But it broke me for, like, a solid year. I did not know how to continue my practice with
Mhm.
it. It took about a year for me to really, like, start to figure it out, and now I've kinda got it down. I'm still not good at meditations, and, like, guided meditations especially are just, like, not it, though they do have some aphantasia-friendly guided meditations, those ones are pretty good, love those,
Mhm.
but there's not a ton of those. So, when I meditate, I actually tend to just use, like, fantasy music.
Yeah. I've always
that
gotta
and
use some, like, weird
like,
offbeat kinda music. It's never, like, a guided meditation music. It's always some weird shit, like some
would love for the guided meditations to work for me the way that they work for other people. It sounds so
yeah.
nice. Like, it really does, but it doesn't work.
Sounds
Um,
good.
but I had to kind of figure out how I was able to do the things that people could do. So, like, when people protect themselves, if you watch, like, some paranormal investigators or some mediums who will talk about, like, covering yourself in, like, a white light, like, picturing it, and that'll protect you and everything, which is an incredibly valid practice if you can do it.
Yeah.
I can't do that. So
Mhm.
that is a really big reason why I started researching, like, wards and protective practices and reading how, like, ancient people used to protect, like, braiding magic,
Yeah.
like, candle spells, the, like, color magic, just very, like, physical, visual, and, like, feeling wise things.
Right.
So everything I do is very like physical. When I am protected, I create my own like energetical bubble. I carry crystals. I do like candle spells. I use rocks to ward my property, or sometimes I'll put a whole spell inside of like an eggshell and then seal it, and I'll use that as like wards and everything. So
Self, like you said, you don't visualize, like, a white light, but do you think you manipulate your aura and, like, your energy around yourself to give yourself your version of that?
I don't necessarily think so. I think what happens here is I create energy.
Yeah.
Is when I do magic or like I put my sigils on or my protection oil and everything, it creates this like energetical barrier.
Mhm.
And I've actually done this so many times that, and this sounds crazy for quite literally anybody who is ever going to watch this, I
Mhm.
created an egregore that has now taken the appearance of, like, a Drider from D&D,
Uh-huh.
and it calls itself the Warrior, and
Really?
it is basically a manifestation of my protections and everything into its own form
Mhm.
that acts as a spirit guide now.
Yeah. So
So
I wanna talk about the egregore really quick because I haven't told anybody this all day today, but literally just last night I made the first egregore for
yeah,
Purgatory Club. So Purgatory Club now has its own spirit that I created, and it's gonna just live on and get energy from everything.
nice, nice.
So I found that so interesting.
Yeah.
It has
I
its own
believe
sigil, it has its own everything now.
yeah, I believe heavily in, egregores. So I'm gonna start this with saying I'm basically an omnist, which means that I believe in any and all religions, which um that are not inherently harmful. So
Mhm.
like the Ten Commandments, not a fan. But the
Yeah.
teachings of Jesus Christ, awesome, fantastic, believe wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
However, I believe very strongly in humans' abilities to create things energetically.
Mhm.
And the way I view, like, the gods and the worlds and everything is there's our world and then there's the spirit. And while the spirit world has always existed, I believe that there was, like, maybe one, like, kind of energy, like, it wasn't conscious or anything, it was just energy that was kind
Right.
of existing there, like a primordial type thing. And when humans came in and we started creating stories about Gaia or Freya or like the Morrigan or like all of these gods and everything, the energy started to split and we created these deities and these energies and these stories in a whole nother realm.
Mhm.
So while I don't believe in the Mormon religion, I believe that the entities from said religion exist in another realm because of the
Of the
belief
people.
of humans. I
Yeah.
also believe in many different versions of deities and stuff.
Of course.
So, like, Yahweh has so many different versions of himself out there.
I'm glad you
There's
said that.
a couple different, like, Jesuses, there's a few Lokis, like, there's
Yeah.
so many different types of, like, entities and stuff, and I believe that they kind of form to us. My experience with Loki is going to be different than somebody else's experience with Loki.
Mhm.
Um, but what was I saying? How do I word this? They all still exist wholeheartedly in their own realm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's a very confusing and nuanced kind of topic.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, that deities and gods have different versions of themselves for sure, because it's like you'll notice they'll come to people different ways, like, and they'll
Yeah,
show themselves in different ways, and that's how I've kinda noticed that and came to come to understand that because I was like I was just
100%.
talking to Ruby the other day about, what's his name? A certain deity, and he came to her, but and she
Is it
actually
Papa?
worked with him. No, not Papa, this is a different one.
Oh, okay.
But she mentioned his name, and I was like, "Oh, he's came to me before, but I've never, like, worked with deities before." But yeah, that's so interesting. I definitely think they show themselves in different ways.
Oh, for sure.
It's
And I
crazy.
think that the old gods are gaining a lot more power because a lot more people are working with them now, and they're
Mhm.
gaining a lot of energy from it.
Yeah.
So,
And I think
oh,
that's what deities need is they need energy and people to give them that energy and worship them and devote to them, and that's how they get big, and I think that's the
oh,
same with a grim or not a grimoire, but a, egregore.
yeah.
The more you feed it throughout your life, the more it's gonna be
Mhm.
it's crazy.
So, this is kind of a slightly on topic, slightly off topic. Here's a
Mhm.
fun So a lot of musicians, politicians, celebrities in general, anybody who's like a public figure, when
Yeah.
they create like a persona or something, they're basically creating like an egregore.
Yeah.
So
That's
like
exactly right, yeah.
yeah. So like Chapel Roan, when she performs as Chapel and everything, that's an egregore. So if somebody was to try and like hex her or something, then it wouldn't necessarily attach itself to her. It would
Yeah.
attach itself to the egregore
Mhm.
because it's really hard to attach to that when you're creating this whole separate persona because people don't understand that like musicians, celebrities, they put out some stuff, but they hide stuff too.
It's like Hannah Montana.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So fair warning, my phone hit 15%.
Oh, no.
So
We can
sad.
wrap it up here pretty soon. It's okay, we're already over an hour.
I can't believe it's already been an hour.
I feel like 15 minutes, right?
It really has. Time
Like, it's
flies.
crazy. This is how it felt when I filmed with Douglas. We filmed for, like, 2.5 hours, and I swear it was, like, 30 minutes.
So crazy.
So, that's crazy, and my phone's getting low. I just hit, like, 17% too, so I'm like, "Oh, shit."
It works out then.
Yeah, we can end it on this, though. This would be a good question I wanted to ask you.
Solid.
Um, if you could ask the universe one thing and get a clear answer, what would it be?
Ooh, let's see. I think I would ask why. I struggle a lot with the whole good versus evil thing because sometimes it feels like the evil is winning more against the good.
Mhm.
So I think I would simply just be like, why? Why does it seem like this? Like, why is everything so hard when it doesn't have to be?
Right. Oh, that
Like,
makes a lot of sense. And I'm the same way. I always want to know the why of things. That's why I never made a good Catholic. I asked too many fucking questions. I'm just like, why? But why? But why?
no, literally, like, I wanna know why. Like, I have my ideas of things that happen in the afterlife, like, I have some info from, like, Larry and everything. They have a lot of rules over there, I'm not allowed to know a lot of things. Sucks.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I really just want to understand the whole why. And also, why was I put here? Because I fully believe that I was dragged here kicking and screaming. I don't believe that I chose this human life. I was
so
not
you,
made
you
to be a human. This is really
so you're
hard.
like so you're like in a way looking for your purpose too, right?
Yeah, I've always
Yeah,
been kind of looking for my purpose. I don't know. I feel like I'm supposed to be more than what I am, but I don't necessarily want to be like this huge thing or anything, and I don't know how to be any of that.
right.
I'm just me.
Oh, that makes
So,
sense. Well, I think you're great, and I think a lot of people think you're great, and because you're
well,
you unapologetically, and that's a lot of people aren't that,
it
and
it's
you know what I
taken a
mean?
lot of time and work to get to where I currently am.
All that shadow work, I'm telling you, it's a
So much
necessary
shadow,
thing.
so much screaming and crying,
Hmm.
and honestly, mirror work. Just staring at yourself in the mirror
Yeah.
and letting what comes to the surface come.
Hmm.
I I'll die on the hill. It's so good.
It is
It's
good. It's therapy.
very healing. It really is. Like, and read therapy stuff. Read therapy stuff. If you can't afford to go to therapy, just read therapy stuff. There's a lot of therapists on TikTok and stuff, and I know you don't want to go to TikTok to find your information, but there's a lot of great
There
therapists out
is.
there that give so such useful information on how to like cope with some things. And
Hmm.
it's genuinely saved me a few times, like, a few
Yeah,
times.
that's crazy. I'm glad. I'm gonna. I don't use TikTok that much, but I'm probably gonna use it a little bit more and see what's on there. It just the algorithm fucks with me.
Yeah,
It never
it
likes me.
takes some time to build your algorithm, it really does. But once you get the algorithm set, gold.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
it's great. Love it.
Let me ask one more question before I let you go. What's one thing you would like a message if you can give a message to spirit and have spirit understand you, and what's one message that you would want spirit to know?
Let's see. I think I would tell spirit that I'm sorry that so many people don't believe, trust, or care, and that spirit tries so, so hard, and it's just constantly discarded for so many people, and that,
It is.
like, I'm sorry, and it's not what spirit deserves, and, like, I'm guilty of this too, like, everybody is guilty of it, sometimes we don't wanna hear messages and stuff,
Right.
but it's just a heartfelt apology and all the respect.
Yeah. I
Like,
would
all the
say for my
love and
message to them would be I'm sorry that they so many people make a mockery, and
mhm,
it's that bugs me more than anything. It's like
yeah,
especially in the paranormal community, like so many people make a mockery and like joke about death like it's joking about anything. Like it's death
yeah,
we're talking about when we're talking about spirit.
yeah, no, I'm like,
It's we're talking about people that walked this earth at one point. That's crazy to not give them that respects.
yep, agreed. If they deserve the respect. I'm all about, like,
Yeah,
giving what somebody deserves.
right.
You have to
Absolutely.
earn things, in my opinion, and that includes
Absolutely. But
very
this was a
strict.
really good chat, Jaden. I really do appreciate you. I don't want your phone to die, and I don't want mine to die either. It's at
Yeah,
14
right,
now.
we don't want to resolve this. I don't know if that's how that works, but I
But it was
appreciate
a really
you
good
chatting
chat.
with me tonight.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do this again now that we know that we can get it to work and everything like
Yeah.
that. So
Yes, yeah, I told you we would figure it all out. It would all work
yeah.
out.
And I think it was buttery smooth the whole time too. So fuck doing it
Yeah,
the
no,
other way.
I
I think I'm
think
just
you
gonna do
did
it this way
great.
from now on.
Fantastic. Love to hear it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go. I hope you have a really great rest of your day. We'll probably talk in Discord later or something, but
Yeah, probably. You have yourself a lovely rest of your night.
you as well. It's already like
So
7 o'clock over
all
there, isn't
good.
it? Yeah. So
Um,
enjoy
yeah,
your
it's
dinner.
7:01. Yeah, I gotta go
All
to
right. I'll let
sleep.
you go.
Bye.
Adios.